Hey brass guys, this is Connor coming at you from Indianapolis. I believe the current temperature where I'm at is -11 with like a wind chill of -20 something. So it's pretty awful, but we're still having school today, which sucks. But I just wanted to make this video for you guys. I wanted to give you some feedback on some things that I'm noticing on the articulation exercise video, and try to give you some helpful hints and tips and tricks so that you can have a more efficient practice section when you're trying to improve on these things, and make you more aware of some things that we're seeing across everyone's videos that are coming in. So I want to start right at the beginning with the legato part of the exercise. So the thing I notice when we're playing our legato notes, the number one tendency I have notice is that we like to fwa the front of the note. So it might sound something like this. Okay, hopefully you can hear that. I don't have a great microphone on my laptop. I'll play it again for you. Just take a listen. You're going to hear that the front of the note starts here, and then I kind of swell into the note a little bit. Okay, so that fwang, in order for me to recreate that fwa, or that kind of swell, or that scoop, or some people call it other things, I feel like I'm having to start with less air behind the tongue at the front of the note than I feel like I should. Okay, so make sure that if you're working on legato articulation, that you start with enough air behind the tongue before the note, the very front of the note, that when the note comes out, it starts here and it ends here. Okay, this same volume. Okay, so that's going to come from making sure that the tongue and the air are moving in one motion. You're taking a big full breath and turning the air around and getting it right back out of the instrument. Okay. One thing I like to work on with my students, if we're just working on legato notes or keeping a steady tone or things like that, is our band room is covered in white bricks. So what I'll have them do is take a look at the bricks, and I'll tell them, like, hey, you guys need to make sure when we're playing these legato tones that your notes look like these bricks. They're the same size on both ends. Okay, and then the mortar between the bricks is so thin that I'll often use that mortar spot between the bricks to describe how much space the tongue should take up. So the note might be this large, and then the tongue might take up this much space, and then the next note starts. So maybe if you're in a practice room and you're looking at that, maybe like take a look at the wall if there's bricks there, and it sounds silly, but watch them while you play and try and visualize your notes sounding like that. Another way you can work on this, and I'm going to use this a couple times here, is that if you have the Tonal Energy app, there's an analysis part on the app. If you haven't taken a look at this, you really should. This is a great way for you to check out how your notes are actually sounding when they come out of the instrument, if you're not sure. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play 4 fwad legato notes and take a look at what it does to the analysis on the app. So hopefully you can see those little dips in between. Okay, now I'm going to try and play 4 legato, just straight legato notes. Hopefully you can see the difference between that. I mean, the first one was a little bit louder at the front than the rest of them, but that's a great tool for you to use to analyze yourself and see how they're doing. Okay, and this also works for the accents. So on the accents, what I notice is that, again, the front of the note seems to be the issue, and we like to football the note a little bit. So our notes sound like this when we're playing the accents. Okay, or some of us even just do an actual crescendo all the way through the note. Okay, so here's something to think about. An accent without a note, and I'll use this again with my kiddos sometimes when we're talking about accents. If I show them this, which I think it might be flipped on your screen, but I say, hey guys, what's this? And they're like, oh, it's a decrescendo. It's like, great. Now what is it? And I'll take it and I'll draw a note or something underneath. And they're like, oh, now it's an accent. It's like, exactly. That same shape that you think of for decrescendo is what an accent is. So you have to think of it in that way. So to play the accent, the front of the note needs to be slightly louder. That's going to come from the air, not from the tongue. Okay, if you use too much tongue, you're actually just going to end up hindering the air, and you're going to get that football shape most of the time. Or you're just going to get a really harsh sound on the front of the note, which we also want to avoid. So the front of the note is slightly louder. The notes need to decay. And the other thing is the notes need to touch. They are full-length accents. We have some folks that like to play accents like this. Luckily, I still have my analysis tool going. You can see the space between those notes, and that's not what we want. Okay, so don't think about tongue when it comes to accents. Think about more air and short puffs of air on the front of the note to kind of help give us that solid front of the note, and then let the note decay. And again, you need to take a listen to yourself playing these. Okay. The last thing I want to talk about is the staccato notes. For the staccatos, for the most part, we just had a lot of people that were really short and pecky. You need to think tone, not tongue. And some of us, it sounds like we're thinking tongue, not tone, because our notes on the staccato portion sound like this. Okay. Our definition of a staccato note is half the value of the original note. So if they're supposed to play a quarter note, and we're at this tempo, which I can go ahead and throw the metronome on here. Let's just try it at ACD. We'll go even slower so you can really hear. So here's my metronome. I'm going to turn on the 8th note. I'm going to make sure I'm playing all the way to the 8th note with my staccato note. Check it out. 2, 3, and. Okay, hopefully you can hear that I'm trying to stretch that staccato note out as much as I can all the way to the 8th note. Okay, so I'm thinking about tone, not tongue. And you'll also notice that I'm not stopping the note with my tongue. And that's another thing we notice. Take a listen to the difference. Here's what happens if I stop the note with the tongue. It's very abrupt. Versus if I let the air just keep moving and I stop the buzz. Okay, that way I get a lot more resonance. Okay, so these are some really, really easy things to think about for all your different things. So remember the legato notes, try to get rid of the schwa, have more air behind the tongue when you first start the note. Keep them smooth and connected like a big row of bricks. When it comes to your accents, again, you need more air on the front of the note and less tongue. And make sure you're making that accent with air. Make sure you're not footballing the note or crescendoing through the accent, flipping the accent around. Make sure you're not tonguing too hard and thinking one taste bud through that as well. And then when it comes to your staccatos, make sure they have resonance. Make sure they're actually half the value of the original note. And make sure you're thinking tone, not tongue. Okay. Last but not least, I have one more tip for you to check out. Outside of using that analysis app, another really cool thing that you can do, and it's kind of weird sometimes when you first have kids try it, but then they realize that it works, is we talk a lot about the articulation and tongue placement and things like that. Sometimes it's really hard to feel what that really is, like what's really going on inside of your mouth. So one thing I like to do is I like to take my fingernail and I will scratch just behind my front teeth where the gums, or the roof of my mouth meet my front teeth, just behind them. So I'll give it a pretty good scratch, a couple seconds, dig in there with my fingernail. It stings a little bit, but it's okay. It's not going to kill you. You're not going to bleed. And then I will scratch the very, very tip of my tongue. Now when you do that, both of those tissues are so sensitive that they will tingle for a good 10 or 15 seconds after you do this. And what you can do is you can then go da, 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 or you can play, and you can actually feel those two tingling spots on the tissue on the inside of your mouth. You can feel if they're touching or not. And you'll be surprised that sometimes you'll do a scratch here, you'll do a scratch there. You'll say the articulations, you're like, oh yeah, the two tingling spots are touching. I'm tonguing correctly. But then you'll scratch, then play, and you'll notice your tongue is like too far back or too far forward and those spots aren't touching. So give that a shot on your own and see if that helps you at all. So thanks for checking this out. We'll be up with some more assignments and hopefully some more helpful videos for you soon.